Okay, welcome everybody to GenPower. This is where we bring you motivational, inspirational and empowering videos so you can fulfill your God-given purpose. Now, this is the entrepreneurial series and it gives me great pleasure, okay, to have our guest today, Alex Peace-Gadsby. Have I pronounced that correctly?
Hi, you have.
Look at this.
Hi Dental, hi everyone.
All right. Now, obviously, the key thing that what we wanted to talk about is being an entrepreneur now is the most fashionable thing. It used to be footballers, used to be movie stars. Now everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. But what we wanted to do is find out, what does it really take to be an entrepreneur? What does it take to be a business owner? And is it as good as everyone makes it out? And what are the characteristics that you need to be successful? If we're going to do this, we want to be successful. Okay, so let's get into the interview.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, for anyone who doesn't know you. Okay.
Oh gosh, so
Yeah.
I'm Alex. I wear so many hats, it's unbelievable.
Many.
Many hats. So I suppose in some ways you could call me both a business entrepreneur
Yeah.
and a social entrepreneur, really.
What's the difference?
So
If
the
anyone who
difference,
doesn't know.
so for me, social entrepreneur is being very entrepreneurial through my volunteering, and then also I'm entrepreneurial in a business sense. So to think in a business sense, first of all, first of all, I went off into a corporate world.
Yeah.
I read a degree in business information systems and a master's in strategic management.
I didn't know that. I did some research. I didn't know about the master's.
So,
now I'm super impressed.
So it sounds incredibly impressive, but what I will say to people out there who think, well, but I'm not a straight A student and things, I wasn't.
Okay,
I absolutely wasn't either.
Yeah.
I went to a school originally where you had 45% chance of getting 5 GCSEs and above.
Oh, okay.
I was bullied for being clever, so I tried not to be as
clever.
clever.
Right.
So if there are people out there who are in exactly the same boat, I know how you feel. But my mum said to me, there's one thing that they can't take away from you, and it's an education.
Fantastic.
And I had to get my head down, and I had to really think about it. And I went off not really knowing what I wanted to do even when I came out of university. But I decided to specialise as a marketer, and I went into a corporate world.
Yeah.
But very quickly, I started to find my feet, but I also had a bit of a life-changing event, really. I had a badly misdiagnosed ectopic pregnancy.
Oh, okay.
And it nearly cost me my life.
Wow.
And when that nearly cost me my life, it made me sort of reevaluate things. And I decided, I'm not going to run around at 90 miles an hour working for the people.
Yeah.
I'm going to do the things that really matter, and the things that I'm absolutely passionate about. So that was my catalyst. So often I've got lots of entrepreneurial friends, and there tends to be a catalyst that really gets people going with these things. They just tend to be a common theme, and that was my theme, really. And at that point I started to do two things. So I'll hit the business side first of all, then I'll hit the volunteering side. And so for me, from a business point of view, I started to do some consultancy work with smaller businesses, helping them.
And how did you help them? Your background in business, was that your way? Was you orchestrate to actually, if I start off without having to own a product and offer a service, it's low cost and a low cost way of getting into business?
Absolutely, because I was still, for me, there were elements of still finding my feet. So I'd risen very quickly as I came out of university. I'd got very lucky. I'd become head of group marketing very quickly in a business, and it exposed me to lots of brands as well. Part of it was a design agency, things like that. So I got a lot of confidence from a lot of brands. But working with small businesses, of course, you really have to roll up your sleeves and get stuck in. And I loved that factor, and I loved being able to make a big impact like that. So I enjoyed that, and I started trading the stock market.
Oh, as you do.
As well, me being me, but that enabled me as well to be a master of my own diary while I've got young children.
Fantastic.
And over time, that then progressed to I'm going to buy businesses now, not just buy stocks and help other businesses. And I've done various things of different sizes, and then the most significant one that I did was Musto, which is the world's leading sailing brand, big in
you pitched
country
that really well.
and stuff.
I don't know, you stood the salesperson.
Sorry,
I
can't help it. It is. I tell you, it's ingrained, and I find it hard not to say we still, because I've sold it now to Helly Hansen, but I do. I completely absorb myself in these businesses and things, and for me, it's always about people. So. if people said to me, well, what is your skill set? My skill set is bringing out the best in people. So I look for businesses that need that little bit of magic sprinkling on them, maybe need a bit of turnaround, and then I find people who are better than me.
Fantastic.
To do what needs to be done in those areas, and then I bring them along.
Is that one of just on
well.
that point where you talked about people development?
Yeah.
I think one of the things I've read, and you can tell me how true this is that entrepreneurs, you don't have to be the best. Where in the corporate world, it's all about you being the best. Where entrepreneurs like, actually, let me find loads of people who are better than me.
Absolutely.
To get business to the next level.
Yeah. Because I mean, the reality is, if it's about ourselves, it's about our egos.
Yeah.
And actually, 100%. Our egos are never going to be what take us forward and really help us to progress.
Yeah.
It is all about, who is really good at this. So, for example, Musto, there was no way I was going to go in as the chief exec.
Yeah.
One, because I wanted somebody who's better than me, more experienced in that area. Two, I didn't want to fly off at 3 o'clock in the morning to China if something went wrong, that kind of thing. And I didn't want to get locked in on the sale of the business, because people will say, well, why did you sell Musto? That was always the plan.
Oh, okay.
When I buy businesses, I buy them to turn them around and then let them go intentionally.
Do you find that entrepreneurs then don't have an end goal sometimes then? Is that sometimes when they get started, you sound very focused, like this is my end goal, this is what I want to achieve. Is that important from whether you're a business owner?
I wonder if, I think there are different types of business owners. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, so I've probably honed a focus that I wouldn't necessarily have had in my 20s kind of thing. But I know now that that's a model that works for me and what I've learned over time. So for example, I had the capability of taking Musto from here to here, but what I couldn't do, because it would have needed more investment then, was it could have trundled along growing very steadily, or I always feel I owe it to the people to let it go to the next level and let it really and everybody wins out of it. So on that sale as well, lots of people they'd got a free shareholding, or they'd got bonuses and things like that. So it's never about Alex wins. It's always about everybody winning from that. That's the intent.
I tell you, that's a background. In 40 years, you've done quite a bit.
Then there was the volunteering. I promised you I'd mention, didn't I? So at the same time as coming out and doing that, he did say to me, it's only 10 minutes. And I thought at the time, I never shut up talking. So here we go. So
camera roll. We're fine.
So then from a social entrepreneurial side, when I had the ectopic pregnancy, I took the attitude, right, this is not going to happen to women in the future, because I was turned away from accident and emergency 3 separate occasions. There was a lot of complexity around it, and I wanted to affect change. So the Ectopic Pregnancy Trust was a tiny charity that was about to close because it didn't have the revenue. And so I took it upon myself to lead that charity and grow that charity, and to bring God into that for a moment. For me, I look for why things happen, and there was no medical reason why that happened to me. For me, it was supposed to happen to me because, the charity wouldn't have existed and anymore and things had I not. So for me, and I can remember when I had the ectopic pregnancy, and I had a really complicated miscarriage before that, and I can remember driving along in the car, crying away to myself, and I just remembered footsteps, and I just said, if there's ever a time I need carrying, this is the time I need carrying, because I know something's wrong with me, even though the doctors don't, and I need you to look after me. And it's giving me goosebumps, look, but my goodness, was I looked after? And I'd been internally bleeding for 6 days.
Oh my God.
And nobody could understand why I could still walk around, yet alone, and be lucid when I should have been dead in 30 minutes. And for me, it was because I was supposed to make a difference around these things. So there was a purpose, and so I've been driven ever since along those lines in order to try and help women. We can't stop ectopic pregnancy happening, but we can really help women when they're going through, and their families when they're going through that experience, to minimise the trauma.
So you brought your business
and
mindset
things. So there was very much that, and then being involved with the Association of Early Pregnancy Units through that as well. So I like to do a lot along the baby loss route there, and then the other side is young people, particularly disadvantaged young people. My family were coal miners. Originally, I'm from a sort of a disadvantaged background originally, although I got very lucky.
Yeah.
But I see the difficulty for young people having that social mobility, and I wanted to affect change. So I get involved with the Scout Association.
Yeah.
I volunteer as the Chief Commissioner of England.
Do you wear the...
Oh, I do.
You do?
I've got it in my bag.
You should have worn that. That's what we should have worn. That's what we wanted to see.
Could somebody get me my knicker out of that bag? And also with NEET young people, so young people not in education, employment or training, because let's face it, if somebody had a baby at 14 or got into drugs or anything, actually there's a story behind that.
Yeah.
And now what I'm determined is we don't write these young people off, and we actually support them, back through their difficult periods of their life.
And are you finding then that the business side that or the skill sets that you acquired has helped you on the social element? And if you didn't have that, you couldn't have had the impact.
Yeah, I feel I was given these skills for a reason.
Yeah.
And I should put them therefore to good use as well. So for me, being a social entrepreneur is as important as being a business entrepreneur.
So I think sometimes the tag of being an entrepreneur is like you're just money. But what we're hearing from you is actually what I'm driven by is passion. It's not the
money. And I find that with true entrepreneurs, and I know some great entrepreneurs who've done some amazing things, real challenger brand, things like that. And for them, it is always about the people. It's always about doing it because of they can, and challenging themselves and things like that. It's not simply about I want to make a lot of money.
No.
Yeah.
So let's talk about then the characteristics that make a great entrepreneur, in your opinion, from people that you've met and what you've seen from yourself. What would you say is one of the key characteristics that an entrepreneur or a business owner needs to be successful, would you say?
To start with, we've touched on it before, you have to trust people. And you need to not be afraid of people being better than you. Actually, your skill, look at Richard Branson. How can Branson do planes 1 minute, trains the next minute, phones the next minute, because he gets good people in, and he's not frightened of them being better than him. He brings the best out of those people. And I think that is one core skill set. Not being afraid of failure is the other key skill set, because you will get things wrong. And to never fail and never try. You're never going to be an entrepreneur. Do you know what I mean? You've got to get that.
The school system teaches us to get A's, to get the top grades, and then now what you're saying is actually fail. It's okay to fail. It's a part of the process. How do you really take that on board and go, actually, okay, I've started this venture, didn't go so well. But let me not quit here. It's not a sign to quit.
I could twist slightly what the school does there, whether they're doing it consciously or unconsciously. They're getting you to sit mock exams and things because they know when you're practicing a year or so before, you're not going to get as high a mark as when you get to the end result. And they're wanting you to revise for it because they're wanting you to push yourself to get that result. Now, I don't believe A's are the be-all, end-all, not at all in being an entrepreneur, to be honest. A lot of it is mindset anyway. But I suppose what I'm saying is I don't think the school system is pushing you never to fail. I think they're pushing you to try your best. And I think all anybody could ever ask you to do is try your best there. But in terms of failure, I think failure comes because you've tried something and you don't know if it's going to work or not. But unless you try it, you're never going to take it from here to there, are you? And things, and therefore, I like that. So calculated risk, you could call it as well.
That's it. When you say that, because I remember listening to, I think it was Donald Trump. So people may not want to hear about that. But he says, I only take risks that I know I can afford to take. So if I know I can afford to take it, then I'll take the risk. So that's would you say that's
I'd say that's calculated risk, and that calculated risk could be financial. Can the business afford to get it wrong? It could be on an emotional basis. If we take this risk and it doesn't work, how is the team going to feel about this? Am I pushing the team too hard in order to try and achieve this in this kind of time? I think there are so many factors to take into account around that.
Okay, and one of the things you mentioned about you went to university, studied business, but actually didn't give you the skill sets really that you needed to be an entrepreneur or a business owner as much. How can someone learn some of the key skills then? And obviously the watching these videos helps. Okay, and that's why we wanted to do it. But how else can they build that then? Because if I wanted to be a doctor, I go to university and things like that. But if I'm going to be an entrepreneur, how can I best learn what it takes then to
It's
minimise
almost,
some of my failures?
in some ways, it's more of a passion than a learning. It's a drive.
Oh, okay.
So, so what I would say is, you know, rather than particularly learn those skills, feel that drive. If it's sat here within you, just go with it, because what have you got to lose? You know, what's the worst that can happen? Somebody says no, or something doesn't work, or whatever. But if you don't follow that drive, then you're not being entrepreneurial. The entrepreneurial bit is to think, you know, let's just do it anyway. You know, that kind of thing. Let's just do it. Just do it. Yeah.
There we are. She's also signed for Nike.
Yoda. You say Yoda. Do or do not do. There is no try.
I love that. So one of the key things then, as one of your key points to anyone watching this video, is have a passion. Yeah. Before you start anything, don't do it for money. Yeah. Find your passion. Yeah. Find your why. Mm-hmm. Is that what you...
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things that I stand by. I always say life is 10% about what happens and 90% about how you respond to it.
Excellent.
So that's your key bit. Yeah. And then whatever it is, stand for something. Oh, okay. Whatever that something is. Yeah. But you're a better person if you just stand for it and you just go for it. Whether that's on a social entrepreneur route, whether that's on a business entrepreneur route, whether that's both, just stand for it and go for it.
So those entrepreneurs who've been the most successful you've met have always stood for their business. It hasn't just been about money making, as you mentioned.
Absolutely.
They really believe in what
they believe in it, and that just comes through, and people read that as well. So you look at the team. The team feels that then, and you know, Mother Teresa, great example again. You know, no job title, no particular anything, but and you know, and out there doing great social good, but actually a great leader as well, because what she was doing, she just pulled everybody along with her. Yeah, fantastic. So what's the downside then? Because you know, watching this, it all just sounds brilliant. You know, I'm in. The hours. I'm going with the hours. There is no substitute for hard work. Oh, okay. So entrepreneurs work and work and work and work and work. I mean, I jumped on a Skype call at 10 a.m. yesterday. Wow. It went on much longer than intended, so I ended up carrying it on the phone in the car onto my next meeting. So I was over 2.5 hours solidly on one particular call, then I was straight on to another, then I was straight into a meeting, and I took my last call at 9:15 last night. Wow, that's a long day. But it's a long day, so sometimes there are long hours, but if you are passionate about what you're doing, it doesn't feel like work. I always say, when I'm cynical about something, I don't do it. Don't do it. So that sounds like a cliche, isn't it? You think, okay, if you're really passionate about something, it doesn't feel like work. And you think, they say that, I've read that, but that's the truth. It just feels like your hobby, something that you love to do. Okay, so if there was one tip then, okay, someone's watching this and you're like, okay, I want you to go for it. If you've got something you're really passionate about, as you said, just go for it, just do it. But there's one thing I want you to remember. If there was one thing, that little bit of encouragement for that 17-year-old, that 25-year-old, or that guy who's just been made redundant, decides, actually, maybe it's my time now to do my own thing. What's that one nugget? If there is one nugget, I know we talk about loads, but what's that one thing you'd leave them and say, you remembered nothing else from this interview? Okay then, so I'm telling you to just do it. Yeah. And if you're not sure whether to just do it or not, what I've done historically, I've not done it for a while, I want to do it actually, is sometimes what I used to do, I used to get myself a blank piece of paper and I'd draw a line down the middle and I'd write my pros and I'd write my cons and I'd look at it and I'd go, right, well, does this make sense when I look at it? Because actually when you write it down, the pros will always vastly outweigh the, because you know, when we look at the cons, it's actually fear of failure. You'll find all of it's your fear of failure. Love that. So get it down on paper and then just do it anyway. Look at that. Thank you. So I'm inspired. I know, straight after this, that's it. I'm getting my list. I'm taking over the world. Okay, watch this space. Watch this space. Well, thank you so much, seriously. I know you're incredibly busy, so thank you so much. But I really hope that this has inspired someone to go out there and fulfill their dreams, because you know, I think we live in a society now and a time where it's never been easier to be an entrepreneur. If you're going to do it now. Absolutely. So thank you so much. Wonderful. Take care. Cheers.